The year is 2486. The banners of Rome fly above Mars. The Senate convenes not in Italy, but in orbit around Jupiter. Across thousands of worlds and billions of citizens, a language descended from Latin remains humanity's common tongue. For over 2,500 years, one state has ruled mankind. An empire. An empire that never fell. To understand how Rome conquered the stars, we must return to 49 BC. Julius Caesar crosses the Rubicon and marches on Rome. In our timeline, he wins the civil war but dies beneath the knives of senators who believe they are saving the Republic. Instead, they unleash another generation of conflict. Eventually, Augustus emerges and creates the Roman Empire. Under him, Rome flourishes, but a fatal weakness remains. The empire can produce great rulers. It cannot guarantee them. Again and again, Rome's fate rests on the character of a single man. In this timeline, Caesar survives. The conspiracy is uncovered before the Ides of March. The assassins are arrested. The knives never fall. And Caesar spends the rest of his life solving the greatest political problem in history: succession. He expands citizenship throughout the provinces. He integrates local elites into government. He professionalizes the bureaucracy and establishes the Collegium Imperialis, an academy dedicated to identifying and training Rome's future leaders, governors, generals, engineers, administrators, even emperors. Leadership ceases to be hereditary privilege. It becomes a profession. By the time Caesar dies peacefully in 28 BC, Rome has become more than a state. It has become a self-improving system. The centuries that follow become known as the Pax Eterna, the eternal peace. Not because wars disappear, but because Rome no longer suffers the endless cycles of collapse that destroy so many civilizations. Germania is integrated into the empire. Trade stretches from Britain to India. New cities rise along the Rhine and Danube. Roads, aqueducts, and ports connect continents. The empire grows richer with every generation. But Rome's greatest treasure is not gold. It is knowledge. In our timeline, civilizations repeatedly forgot what they had learned. Libraries burned. Records vanished. Entire generations were forced to rediscover the achievements of their ancestors. Rome never experiences that collapse. The libraries of Alexandria survive. The writings of Archimedes survive. The discoveries of one century become the foundation of the next. Knowledge compounds. A scholar born in the year 800 has access to everything known in the year 100. A scholar born in the year 1200 inherits both. Rome becomes humanity's memory. By the 6th century, engineers begin experimenting with steam power. At first, the machines are curiosities. Then they become tools. Then they become industry. By the 8th century, steam engines power mines and workshops. Factories rise beside ancient forums. By the 9th century, railways connect major cities. Legionaries travel on trains where their ancestors marched on foot. Merchants cross continents in days rather than months. The empire enters an industrial age nearly 1,000 years ahead of schedule. The consequences are staggering. Cities grow to unprecedented size. Literacy spreads across the empire. Universities multiply. Inventors become celebrities. Science becomes one of the highest callings in Roman society. By the 11th century, electricity begins illuminating major cities. By the 12th, communications networks link distant provinces. By the 13th, primitive computing machines assist the vast imperial bureaucracy. What took humanity nearly 2,000 years in our timeline takes Rome barely half that time. Not because Romans are smarter, because Rome never forgets. As technology advances, a new question begins to dominate the minds of philosophers and engineers alike. If Rome has conquered the world, what lies beyond it? Across the empire, observatories rise toward the heavens. Astronomers map the stars with increasing precision. Mathematicians calculate impossible trajectories. Entire generations dedicate themselves to understanding the cosmos. For centuries, the stars had been objects of wonder. Soon they would become destinations. And in the 15th century, a discovery would change human history forever. Imperial engineers would build the first practical rockets. The age of Earth was ending. The age of Rome among the stars was about to begin. The stars are no longer distant lights. They are destinations. By the end of the 17th century, Roman space stations circle Earth. What began as experimental outposts quickly become symbols of a new age. Children dream of becoming astronauts. Senators compete to fund scientific expeditions. The empire that once looked across the Mediterranean now looks toward the heavens. The moon becomes Rome's first extraterrestrial province. At first, it is little more than a collection of mining camps and research stations buried beneath the lunar surface. But Rome has never built temporary settlements. Where Romans go, cities follow. Domes rise across the moon. Roads connect settlements. Families arrive. Within generations, Luna is home to millions. Then comes Mars. The red planet captures the imagination of the empire. Unlike the moon, Mars feels like a world waiting to be claimed. The first settlements struggle to survive. Dust storms destroy equipment. Crops fail. Entire colonies disappear. Yet Rome persists. It always has. New settlements arrive every year. Massive engineering projects begin reshaping the planet. Atmospheric processes, orbital mirrors, and artificial ecosystems slowly transform Mars into humanity's greatest construction project. As the Martian population grows, Rome expands elsewhere. Mining colonies spread throughout the asteroid belt. The moons of Jupiter become industrial centers. Shipyards orbit Earth and Mars, assembling vessels larger than any structure ever built on the surface of a planet. For the first time in history, humanity is no longer confined to a single world. Yet throughout this expansion, the institutions of Rome endure. Governors become planetary prefects. Legions become aerospace fleets. Provincial administrations become interplanetary governments. Every new world is folded into the empire. By the 19th century, humanity occupies much of the solar system. Earth remains the heart of Rome. But it is no longer the whole of Rome. New identities emerge. Lunans, Martians, belt miners, citizens of Jupiter's moons. All are Roman. Yet each develops its own culture and ambitions. None grow faster than Mars. For centuries, imperial investment transforms the red planet into an industrial giant. Its cities expand across vast valleys. Its factories rival those of Earth. Its population reaches hundreds of millions. Many Martians begin asking a dangerous question. Why should a world this powerful be governed from another planet? At first, the debate remains peaceful. Martian senators demand greater autonomy. Industrial families seek local control. Political movements spread across the planet, but every concession leads to new demands. Every compromise reveals deeper divisions. Tensions rise year after year. Eventually, the crisis erupts. The Martian Wars begin. For the first time in nearly 2,000 years, Rome faces a challenge capable of destroying it. Orbital habitats burn, trade routes collapse, entire fleets are annihilated between worlds. Millions perish. Across the solar system, citizens wonder whether the empire has finally reached its limits. Earth possesses greater resources. Mars possesses greater determination. Neither side can achieve a decisive victory. The war drags on for decades. Ancient institutions strain under pressures they were never designed to endure. The civilization Caesar helped create stands at the edge of catastrophe. Yet, as the conflict continues, a realization begins spreading through both sides. Neither Earth nor Mars can truly win. A divided humanity will eventually destroy itself. If Rome is to survive, it must change, as it always has. Because beyond the war lies a new age, an age of fusion power, an age of planetary transformation, an age in which humanity will leave not just Earth, but the solar system itself. And when that age arrives, Rome will once again face its greatest frontier, the stars. The Martian Wars nearly destroy Rome. For decades, fleets clash between worlds. Trade collapses. Entire habitats are reduced to drifting wreckage. Yet in the end, neither Earth nor Mars emerges victorious. Instead, both sides reach the same conclusion. Humanity has outgrown the institutions built for a single planet. If Rome is to survive, it must evolve. Once again, it does. The settlement that follows transforms the empire. Mars gains greater autonomy. The Senate expands dramatically. Representation is no longer based solely on geography, but on worlds. For the first time, Rome becomes a truly interplanetary civilization. The peace that follows ushers in a new age, the age of fusion. Practical fusion power changes everything. Energy, once among civilization's greatest limitations, becomes almost limitless. Massive reactors power entire planets. Industrial output explodes. Economic growth reaches levels previously unimaginable. And Rome turns its attention to transforming worlds. Mars, once a frozen desert, becomes the greatest engineering project in human history. Artificial oceans fill ancient basins. New ecosystems spread across the planet. Forests appear where dust storms once raged. What had begun as a colony becomes a second cradle of civilization. Elsewhere, similar projects reshape the solar system. The moons of Jupiter become thriving population centers. Titan develops vast cities beneath protective domes. Orbital habitats grow larger than many ancient nations. Some contain millions of residents. Others contain tens of millions. Humanity's population rises into the hundreds of billions. The solar system becomes a web of worlds connected by trade, law, and shared institutions. And throughout it all, Rome endures. Not because it controls every aspect of life, not because it possesses absolute power, but because its institutions have become woven into civilization itself. For over 2,000 years, Rome has adapted to every challenge. Now, it faces the greatest challenge yet, the stars beyond the sun. In 2024, the starship Imperator Augustus departs for Proxima Centauri. The mission captures the imagination of the entire empire. For generations, humanity has conquered planets. Now, It seeks to conquer distance itself. The voyage takes decades. Its success changes history forever. Humanity is no longer a species confined to a single star. Colonization begins almost immediately. New worlds appear across nearby systems: Nova Roma, Caesarea, Aurelia, Hadrian's Reach, then dozens more, then hundreds, then thousands. The empire expands outward across the galaxy. Each new colony develops its own traditions, its own customs, its own identity. Yet all remain connected by the same foundations that Caesar laid over 2 millennia earlier: citizenship, law, representation, service, the idea of Rome. The distances are immense. Messages take years to travel between distant systems. Local governments gain enormous authority. Some historians predict the empire's collapse. They argue that no state can survive such distances. They are wrong, because Rome is no longer merely a government. It is a civilization, a framework, a common culture linking thousands of worlds. The Roman Senate evolves once again, no longer governing cities, no longer governing nations, no longer even governing planets. It governs stars. Today, in the year 2486, representatives arrive from thousands of inhabited worlds. Some are born on Earth, others on Mars, others beneath alien skies hundreds of light years away. Yet all call themselves Roman. Above Jupiter, the Senate convenes within a colossal orbital complex, visible from millions of kilometers away. The old Earth remains sacred. The Forum still stands. The Colosseum still stands. Pilgrims travel across the galaxy to walk the same streets once walked by Caesar and Augustus. The words Senatus Populusque Romanus remain engraved on government buildings from Earth to the frontier. Many historians once believed Rome's greatest achievement was conquest. They were wrong. Its greatest achievement was continuity. For 25 centuries, the empire preserved knowledge, adapted to crisis, and carried the achievements of one generation into the next. It survived civil wars, industrial revolutions, planetary colonization, interstellar expansion. Every challenge that might have shattered another civilization became merely another chapter in Rome's story. And as new starships depart toward unexplored regions of the galaxy, one truth remains. More than 2,500 years ago, Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon. The die was cast, and humanity never stopped marching.